Are you a thoughtful leader? Maybe you are. Maybe you think you are. Let's find out. I'm Mindy Gibbins-Klein. I'm author of The Thoughtful Leader and host of the Thoughtful Leader podcast. Thoughtful leadership is all about thought leadership that goes above and beyond. Thought leadership that is truly new and original, exciting, disruptive, maybe even groundbreaking. Because let's face it, we need to raise the bar. My guests and I are absolutely obsessed with finding truly original thought leadership, and I'm going to bring you so many exciting ideas and opportunities, things for you to think about, and chances for you to push your thinking that you'll be very glad you tuned in. So thanks so much for checking out Thoughtful Leadership and the Thoughtful Leader podcast. I look forward to connecting with you very, very soon. Welcome to the show. My guest today is the amazing thoughtful leader, Catherine Chapman. You are going to feel so vibrant after listening to her and her words of wisdom. And I really believe we do need to be more thoughtful about our health. And that's why I brought her on the show. Hello, Catherine.
Hi, Mindy. Thank you for having me.
I can't wait to hear your best tips, but the tips are at the end. So what we really want to know is, what are you up to in the world? And I've already introduced you as someone who knows about health, but what aspects are you most passionate about?
So, well, all health aspects, but I'm actually a nurse by trade. So it's in me deep. And then I trained probably about 12 years ago now as a Pilates coach. And it's grown from then. I've added meditations, breath works, NLP training, coaching, life and success coaching, all sorts of little bits and pieces that I think that you need. So it's not just coming at you from like a medical point of view, like I was as a nurse, or as a physical point of view, as I was as a Pilates coach, but the whole package, because it just, as much as you can't function as a human being at all without focusing on your health and well-being. Your health and well-being, again, is another whole thing that needs to be focused on, all with your body and your mind and your spirit. So it's an evolving process always, for me as well, for my own personal journey. But yeah, that's where I'm at the moment.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. I know you do some fantastic work and you're creative. Some people we know went to one of your retreats recently, and I think that's what everybody would love to do. So go away and learn and practice and do it all, without the real world impinging on us. But that's not possible all the time, as you know. So what do you find yourself telling clients all the time that makes them become more thoughtful about their health and well-being?
I find myself all the time letting people know that it is actually easier than they think it is, that they don't have to be in the gym for like 3 hours a day, and that they don't have to meditate at 5 o'clock in the morning, I don't know, on top of a mountain with a lovely sunrise. Hey, we'd like, if I could make my life like that, I think I probably would. But that it gets to be easy, it gets to be fun, and you get to pick and choose what fits for you and your life. We are all totally, totally different. And what works for one person will not work for another person. With Vitality Rooms, my membership, the idea behind that was that there were lots of different things that people could use towards their well-being, like a well-being pick a mix, if you will. And they get to choose and try something. And if it doesn't fit, then they get to try something else. They also get to do that without punishing or blaming themselves. That didn't work. That, you could see, I don't know, a celebrity on Instagram doing this or what have you. And if it didn't work for them, it doesn't matter. There is always something else. As long as you're doing something and it is for you, for your beautiful self, then that's the most important thing.
Do you work mostly with women these days? Is that a fair assumption?
Definitely a fair assumption. More and more and more. From when I've come away from, obviously, my nursing, I didn't get to pick and choose who I worked with there. and then with the Pilates, it definitely attracted more women. And again, as I have sort of niched down with the meditation and things like that, it's far more focused on women. There are a few gents, but mostly women.
Right. It was when you said your beautiful self, and I guess people of any gender can feel beautiful and maybe should, but it just really kind of spoke to me because that's not a phrase you hear every day. Let's pick up on that phrase, if you don't mind, because as a thoughtful leader, I tried to dive deep into things that sound interesting and things that I haven't heard before, and I'm sure our listeners haven't heard that phrase. So we are going to pick up on that, which is what we do on this show. So the word beautiful, you don't just mean physical external beauty, do you?
Absolutely not. And do you know what? And the more that I practice what I do, the less I mean physically, and definitely the more that I mean right inside. And a big passion of mine is definitely to help people to see how beautiful they are, regardless of any external factors. It's I don't know whether it's a cliche, but it literally has to start with them, right deep down inside, knowing that they are worthy just by breathing, just by being born, just by being there. They're worthy, they're beautiful, they're fabulous, they're incredible. And that's how actually that's becoming more of a center. The more people that I work with, the more that actually is the core problem, is that they don't see the value and the beauty in themselves very, very first. And so more and more, that's where I'm starting from and working out.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Instagram before, and I think it is a very challenging society that we live in because you've got all these platforms and you've got airbrushed photos and, people who spend hours and hours making things look perfect. And then if somebody looks at that and tries to emulate that, they might feel that they're falling short. So what have you seen, and do you actually advise clients to, get off platforms like Instagram, or is that not necessary?
It's there. Yeah, they're a double-edged sword, aren't they? Because I love Instagram, and don't get me wrong. I like to look nice. I like to look well. I like to look fit. Again, it comes from the inside outwards. If you do all of the things that I'm talking about, if you keep yourself fit and healthy, if you do the meditation, if you eat well, if you drink plenty of water, the other things sort themselves out. They're like a brilliant byproduct. But so often on things like social media or on Instagram, it's often the other way around, that they are promoting the visual effect of it. And I know that that's the plan with Instagram, but for me, it is definitely the other way around. I don't discourage social media. That would be highly hypocritical of me. It's amazing for my business, and I do disappear down rabbit holes very frequently. However, it is a bit of an evil. I can't remember who said this, which is really annoying because I've been using it quite frequently, is that she said that when you come off of social media, you often come off feeling just a little bit worse about yourself than you did when you went on it. And that actually does resonate with me. So for my social media output, I try and make it just as helpful and as positive and as useful as possible. And I do try and limit it. And also try and take everything with a pinch of salt, because you know that people are going to be making everything look. I do. I certainly am quite critical of photos and stuff. Sometimes think, oh my goodness, am I going to put that up there? So I do understand, but it definitely needs to be, there needs to be a huge awareness around it. I also massively a big supporter of keeping it out of the bedroom and away from bedtimes and first thing in the morning. So it's not my alarm clock. I actually have my watch as my alarm clock. So that isn't the first thing I look at, and it isn't the last thing I look at night. It's just an extra to life.
Well, you'll be pleased to hear that my phone has never made it into my bedroom. I keep it downstairs. I turn it off when I want. I turn it on when I'm ready. So we are on the same page there. This is the Thoughtful Leader Show. So let's talk about being thoughtful. And the hard-hitting question of the day is, where have you needed to be more thoughtful? Where have you in your life recently discovered that maybe you needed to step back and be thoughtful about something? And you share whatever you're willing to share. That's what I ask all the guests.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, lots of things come up there. But actually, the thing that really came to the forefront of my mind just then actually is raising my teenagers. I've got 2 teenagers and 1 weenager, so she's almost there. And their dialogue around, if we're keeping it to things like fitness and body image, their dialogue around that is really interesting and very different to how I was brought up. And actually, in relation to that, I've just come back from Israel, and I did a bit of a video yesterday about how putting on more clothes, like covering up, because when we're going into holy sites, or when we were around Jerusalem, we had to have our knees covered, our chest covered, our shoulders covered. And I complied with that out of respect for the people that I was on pilgrimage with. However, I'm very much with the younger people that there should be a celebration of your body, regardless so often of what it looks like. And that seems very different to how I was brought up. And I do find myself defaulting back to how I was brought up, that you should cover up. The whole thing about when you're going out, and if you're wearing sexy or provocative clothing, shouldn't you, that sort of thing. So I've been really thoughtful about that recently. They keep it in the front and center of my mind, but it was really interesting having to cover up when I was away, and the difference that it made me feel. So when I had like a big kaftan on, or I had longer trousers or a t-shirt on, which in 32 degrees heat I normally wouldn't have. Let's face it, I live by the beach. I will spend as much time in a bikini as I possibly can. Let's be honest here. And I really felt like it dulled me down. I felt like it made me quieter. It subdued me. It felt quite controlling. And when we went out to other places that were more accepting, they were more like holiday areas, and I could put my like strapless top on and my shorts and things, and I suddenly felt much more like me again. And it was so interesting. There's no, I don't have enough knowledge about the background of these things to have any judgment, and quite frankly, I don't have the time or the energy to add any judgment to that. But it was just really, really interesting how it made me feel. And then again, to reflect on how I was brought up and how we're bringing them up. So yeah, that was my thoughts recently.
Thank you so, so much, because that's enlightening for me. You know, modesty is a broad term, and it's a broad concept. And there is no right or wrong, and there is no need for judgment. As you were talking, I was thinking some people, including myself, feel more comfortable in a more modest attire. So isn't about, I'm just going to try to articulate it the way you said it, celebrating your beautiful self isn't about, stripping off or something like that. You're not advocating nudist beaches all over the world, are you?
Not yet. No, definitely not.
But that's a choice. And I do, we get the concept of choice coming up a lot on this show, because people really deserve a choice in most things to do with their lives. We work really hard. We aim to be good people, we deserve to be able to choose our lives and various aspects within them, including how we show up physically and, in society. So thank you for opening that up. You may get some comments. You may get some people connecting with you. Listeners, you can always connect with our guests. We give their social media, their bio. You've got the show notes. You've got ways to connect with Catherine. So this is not the end of the conversation, but it's very, very interesting when somebody reacts, and I found myself reacting, thinking, I prefer to be in a caftan and covered up, but sometimes I do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And exactly the same. There's a lot within that could trigger people, or and that's absolutely never my intention. It's just to get really interested, and I am interested in how other people see things and feel, and that will influence me. I'm always interested in being more educated about stuff. When I'm looking through on listening to your podcasts and looking through any of your stuff, that's what pings up to me in my mind about a thoughtful leader, is that interest, is that constant availability to learn and be open without judgment, and be willing to change your mind or go, no, actually, I was totally wrong. You're right. So caveat, right, linked really nicely into that.
Oh, thank you for saying that. And it's not about changing your mind, but it's you can, and it's about having that choice. And listening openly is so difficult. We've all had our conditioning. I know my background was in quite a conservative place, and I know exactly what shaped me. Well, maybe not exactly, but listeners, think about the things that Catherine is saying, because it's not this or that, black or white. I love the fact that you are willing to think about body image and the next generation, Gen Z, for my American friends. This is real. These people are our future. These young people deserve to feel good about themselves, and things are shifting. So what do you think young people, I'm going to stick with that. In fact, I'm going to stick with young women, because, you do have mostly female clients, I think. So young women, what are your best tips for them today, Catherine?
Actually, is to keep it really super, super simple, and make sure that you are your number one priority. For me, as a mummy, I definitely felt like as I was pregnant and as they were small children, that starts to disappear. I felt like I started to disappear a little bit. And I think that it would have been much easier for me had I had a really strong sense of self all the way through. So that's what I'd like to instill in my girls, is a really strong sense of self. And then just to do the simple things, just to really look after, obviously, your fitness, your physical fitness, your nutrition, lots of water, all of that stuff, but also to really incorporate so that it's a habit, like brushing your teeth, doing meditation or breath work, or whatever it is that allows you to stop the chatter, because these guys are going into such a noisy world, and they're bombarded with all these perfect images, which are completely unrealistic. And so again, if they are strong and secure within themselves, that stuff just bounces off. And that's you want them almost like Teflon coated, so that you'll see a I don't know. I'm going to say a Kardashian. I don't know very much about that, but you'll see something like that, someone like that looks so perfect, and that they will then remind themselves that they've got an entire team, and that's their entire job to do that. And that's not my daughter's entire job. So make sure that you are number one priority, and that's what I am trying to teach them as well, by being the example, by being the leader, hopefully. And again, that's not my programming. That's not my programming. As a nurse and as a female, it's usually to put everybody else first, make sure they're all right. And then if they're okay, then I'm okay. And it's swapping that narrative again and saying, no, if I'm okay, I'm showing you that I'm okay. I'm showing you this is how I look after myself. You do the same. So hopefully that's working. Who knows?
That is really great advice. I'm just going to squeeze one more piece of advice out of you, Catherine, and that is going back to the body image. Again, young people, young women these days are seeing lots of different role models, and I'm pleased to see things changing a bit in the media. What would be your best advice regarding body image and celebrating your beautiful self?
And again, it feels like I'm repeating myself just a little bit, but if they are confident in themselves and if they have looked after themselves, and mental health plays a huge, huge part in this as well, then they are going to shine. They're going to see that they're beautiful. They're going to know that they're beautiful. And then all the other stuff is just extra. It might be a good extra. It might just be extra noise. But it's just, if they're secure in themselves, and obviously it's almost a completely different subject. Obviously, I want my children, if we're talking about the younger children, I want my clients and everybody to be fit and healthy. And often that comes with an image of maybe slim or muscly or that sort of thing. And for I was going to say for the average person, and that's an absolute swear word to me, so we'll forget that. I've got no intention of being average at all. But for everyday people, that's not our intention, is to be all sculpted and look like social media pictures. However, that glow, as long as you are looking after your physical self, your mental health, your nutrition, that glow will just come out.
That is brilliant advice, brilliant and glowing advice. So I really, really appreciate your spending time with us, the insights, bringing a bit of personal stories and personality into it. It's made it a really fun episode. So thank you again, Catherine. And, again, listeners, please connect with her and follow her. And there's a lot more where that came from. Take care. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Thoughtful Leader, and I hope it's inspired you to be more thoughtful as a leader in your business. Please consider subscribing and leaving a review. An important question for you. Do you want to create a culture of thought leadership in your organization? My best-selling book, The Thoughtful Leader, is available now on Amazon and many other sites in paperback, ebook, and audiobook formats. Please visit www.mindygk.com for more great content. That's www.mindygk.com. Speak to you again soon.